Welcome, everybody, to the 19th episode of Stories from the Last Territory, podcast that covers the golden years of wrestling in Puerto Rico. My name, like always, is Luis Cuevas, better known as the King, and I am your host for this trip back in time to the greatest feuds in the history of Puerto Rico. If you like what you hear and see, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or in audio at Spotify as Stories from the Last Territories. Today, we're going to be talking about the split between Capitol Sports Promotion and the wrestlers that led to the creation of the All-Star Wrestling Federation in 1991, that led to Capitol Sports Promotion almost going out of business in 1992. This was a weird time in my fandom. I had just moved to the States to go to college when the split happened, so it wasn't until December when I went back to the island to visit my grandfather that I turned on the TV and I saw this new promotion with many of the stars of Capitol Sports Promotions, and I saw the lackluster roster of Capitol Sports Promotion that I went, what the hell happened here? So it was very interesting as the newsletters were not covering at the time. At least the newsletters I was receiving were not talking a lot about Puerto Rico during this time. So I was kind of lost. I was trying to catch up, but my grandfather really wasn't a lot of help during that time. In order to understand what happened, it'd be good to know what was going on during this time. As everybody knows, since the summer of 1988, when Bruce Brody died, or was killed, or assassinated, or whatever you want to call it, the promotion had gone through its peaks and valleys. There were good years, like 1989, with the emergence of Steve Strong, but there were also some really bad times. Also bad press, the fact that the territories had died and most of the big names were signed to WWF or WCW, living in what was left of the territories, not the best talent. You had a lot of repetition of the same stars in the top, and not being able to promote new stars left WWC or Capitol Sports Promotion in a really, really bad spot. They had a chance in 1990 to put a new face on top with TNT, or as most American people know him as Savio Vega on top, but they did not pull the trigger at that time. That had led to attendance to be going up and down during these times, which led to, of course, money problem situation that has always happened in Puerto Rico, where talent were not being paid the right way, or they were owed money, and this left the talent very unhappy and also produced many hurt feelings. And that led to a lot of wrestlers leaving, like Chiqui Star left, Hercules Ayala left. And in the summer of 1991, Hercules Ayala, alongside Chiqui Star and Wasabi Novich, got along with Gloria Uribe, who was a financial backer of the promotion, to start their own promotion called All-Star Wrestling, although AWF in short, in the summer of 1991. I have asked about Gloria Uribe, and to this day, she's one of the most mysterious persons in the history of wrestling. There's not a lot of information about her that we know of. We do know that Hercules Ayala served as the booker in the promotion alongside Hugo Sabinovich, who was also the producer and helped with a lot of the booking at the beginning. At the beginning of the promotion, the All-Star Wrestling were aligned with a young promoter from the Northeast called Golden Scosari. Many people maybe from the Northeast will know who he is. He had a promotion called America's Wrestling Federation, and they had a talent with the All-Star Wrestling Company. And a couple of the angles that were used in Puerto Rico were set in the Northeast promotion that Gordon Scosari led. For example, the brawl between Marty Fernandez and Hercules Ayala occurred in Scosari's logo taping in his promotion, in which Fernandez attack Ayala with a knife was used to introduce the America's Wrestling Federation audience to Fernandez, who had left WWC for the new All-Star promotion. Another one was with Solid Gold, the tag team Jose Estrada Sr., Estrada Jr., that they defeated the U.S.-based tag team champions of the America's Wrestling Federation, in this case, Sonny Beach and Jake Gaylord in Caguas, Puerto Rico. The association went a little bit more than we know of when Scosari helped produce 2 TV pilots for the All-Star Wrestling Federation for Channel 41 in New York, WXTV. The episodes feature a mix of the Puerto Rican and the U.S. talent that were working for both promotions, and it actually was very successful. It got the America's Wrestling Federation or All Star Wrestling Federation in Spanish language time slot on WXTV or Channel 41 in New York. But sadly, like a lot of things that happen in Puerto Rico, All Star Wrestling, well, they never sent the tapes, and Gloria Uribe never paid. And she defaulted on the weekly 2,500 payments to the station, and that led to the end of the association between Escosari and All Star Wrestling in Puerto Rico. So you can imagine, they had a chance to go to New York and take the product, but Gloria Uribe defaulted on the weekly 2,500s, and the producer of the show, in this case, Hugo Sabinovich, I guess, never sent the tape to the TV station. So that kind of killed that situation over there. So some of the talent that was in the AWF in Puerto Rico were Sabio Vega, Hercules Ayala, Huracan Castillo Jr., Jimmy Snuka, the British Bulldog, Tony Atlas, Tom Brandy, Misty Brew, Luna Vachon, Jose Estrada, Rey Gonzalez, Chiqui Star, Steve Strong, Invader 2 and 4, Wizard, even the great Joaquin Padinho and referee Tomas Marin Jump. It was crazy. And many others that we had seen in WWC during the golden years, except basically Carlos, Invader, and Miguel Perez Jr. around that. Everybody but the janitor left Capitol. Even the janitor left during this time of Capitol Sports Promotions. After many years of seeing a lot of the DVDs from AWF that friends have sent me along the way and seeing videos in YouTube and stuff like that, I can honestly say the early success of the promotion was due mostly as a backlash to Carlos and Invader 1. People were tired seeing them on top, and that first year really put a damper on WWC, and people were just wanted to see something different in top. They wanted to see new stars being the main eventers. They were tired of seeing Carlos and Invader, which later was going to be kind of funny because the reason they turned around was due to Carlos and Invader. But at that time in 91, people just wanted something new. And they had some great angles like Castillo versus TNT, Hercules Ayala versus Chiqui Star, including an angle where on TV Hercules announced his retirement. And attendance started climbing little by little. And Hugo Sabinovich on TV was like a scorn lover, taking shots at Capitol Sports Promotions every chance he had on TV. Basically, every week he was saying something about Capitol, saying things like, we deliver the stars, we promise, not like the other side. We have fresh main events, not the same. We have the big stars, yada, yada. Every week, looking back at it now, it really gets tired. Seeing Hugo Sabinovich, in that sense every week, just it looked like Eric Bischoff with WWF during the Monday Night Wars. They did a couple things right, in my opinion. They continued to push Huracan Castillo Jr. as this lead heel, as this real badass rule breaker that he has started becoming in World Wrestling Council that we talked the previous week in our previous podcast, helping him establish as the face of wrestling in the island during this time of 91 to 94. And in my opinion, he was the best wrestler in Puerto Rico during this time. And second, the other thing they did was they paid good money to the wrestlers and on time, which was a problem that WWC or Capitol Sports Promotion have, as we had discussed. So for me, that was like the big thing they did. They keep pushing Huracan Castillo. In my opinion, that 91 to 94 run has to be as good as any run of any wrestler in the history of Puerto Rico. And maybe we discuss that in a later podcast. But basically, besides that, it was WWC show with a new name and another channel. That was basically what it was. Meanwhile, Capitol Sports was struggling with talent and the same old. They had Greg Valentine, they had Dick Murdoch, they had Ronnie Garvin still on fold, the Patriot, but the undercard was really bad. I mean, it was really bad. I mean, attendance really went down, and it looked like the All-Star Wrestling was going to win the war. But there's a Spanish saying, that says más sabe el diablo por viejo que por diablo, which loosely means like the devil knows more from being old than from being the devil, implying he knows all the tricks because of experience and all the time. And in 1992, when things were really, really bad in Capitol Sports Promotion, they did something no one believed they would see in their lifetime. And it was that they turned Invader One heel. And let me tell you, man, it was golden. It was gold. It was very good. The angle, the promos between Carlos and Invader that were as close to shoot as possible. Uh, it shows they were head and shoulders above everyone in creating interest in their matches. You may say whatever you want about Jose Huerta Gonzalez, Invader One, and well deserved, but he knew how to connect with fans and how to create interest in his matches. And his promos during these times were incredible, and everything he did as a heel was very, very, very good. And Carlos Colon, again, all master, knows all the tricks, and he even brought up that why everybody turned their backs on Invader and that things were brick for Invader One. He was the only one who was there to help him, that he provided, that Invader should never forget about that. And basically they used Bruiser Brody, they used their other years of friendship, everything to uh, build this great angle that created and had interest in the fans of Puerto Rico, who from 1970 something has seen this too as the baby faces of the company. Now they were going to finally see the match, and that match, uh, I highly recommend people go out of their way to see it, and it was great stuff. And they set up the main event of Anniversary 92, where to the surprise of everyone, Invader One defeated Carlos Colon to become the new Universal Heavyweight Champion. On TV the following week, Invader cut this masterful promo showing on TV with Alcolado and say that on national TV he was cleaning the smell of cologne that the titles stink of Carlos, and that after cleaning it, if it continued to smell, he will keep cleaning it until Carlos Colon's smell was no longer on the TV title. And that led to a series of rematches that turned the tide in WWC favor. Another thing they did to turn things around was after a couple months in the Invader versus Carlos feud, they brought back Abdullah the Butcher. And honestly, they had the closest thing to a real life assassination in TV, in the city of Gurabo, where Abdullah, with the help of the rule breakers, especially Dick Murdoch, who was the leader of the rule breakers during that time, just gave Carlos Colon a beating so bad. Uh, it was the closest thing I have ever seen to seeing somebody die on TV in a wrestling angle. I mean, they just beat the nuts out of Carlos Colon. And Carlos Colon had some great beatings, but like this one, I don't remember one being like that. In a moment, Invader One came to the ring, and it looked like, yes, Carlos Colon was going to be dead. And Dick Murdoch held in Carlos Colon until Invader hit him. But instead of joining Murdoch and Abdullah, Invader made the save, helping Carlos Colon. But at the end, he was also manhandled by the rule breakers. This really was very gory and very pushing the envelope, which, knowing the story of WC, it had to be something way beyond what we have ever seen. The angle concluded with Carlos Colon with a fork on his chest and bleeding and just blood everywhere, and just, I mean, he looked like he had died. And Dick Murdoch then going to the rule breakers dressing room, picking up the briefcase with the clothes of Invader and throwing it out of the locker room, basically kicking Invader One out of the dressing room, helping Invader become a baby face again, helping WWC turn the tide. Meanwhile, as all this was happening in Capitol Sports Promotion, a lot of the problems that WWC were having that led to the split start turning up in All-Star Wrestling. The angles kind of became a repeat. The same stars were continuing to be pushed as the main eventers, and no new stars were being developed. And basically, again, the same wrestlers that we have seen since the 80s, but now on top without Carlos Colon and Invader. So it really just became very repetitious. And the guy who many people thought was gonna be the star of the promotion, and the people the one that people thought, this guy might be the one. Rey Gonzalez figure out, you know what? Instead of fighting with a glass ceiling with these people, I might as well do it in Capitol Sports Promotion. And Rey Gonzalez, who at that time was becoming like the new face of wrestling, jumped back to WWC, leading Hugo Sabinovich on TV, basically ripping a new one on Rey Gonzalez for jumping back to Capitol Sports Promotion and basically just trashing him along, on his way out. The promotion, due to the high salary and the fact that in 1993, everybody knows wrestling all over the world was going on a bad streak. 1993 was bad. They start having attendance problems, and to complicate things, the main backer of the promotion, Gloria Uribe, uh, died suddenly of a heart attack, and that led to, little by little, the promotion having money problems, situational problems, lack of push, and many of the stars that were at one time in All Star Wrestling going back to uh, to Capitol Sports Promotions, and it led to the promotion closing in 1993 due to lack of financial money and backing and all kinds of stuff. But during that period of summer 91 to summer 92, they were the first promotion that really put on Capitol Sports Promotion to the verge of bankruptcy and to the verge of making them close. Sadly, it only lasted a year, but to this day, many fans remember All Star Wrestling with a lot of good memories, a lot of good things. But again, in my opinion, it looked like it was gonna fail because they were not pushing new stars, in my opinion, and it just looked like a Wish version or Temu version of Capitol Sports Promotion. In my opinion, most of the stuff I saw from the All Star Wrestling was 20 years later, so I didn't live through the whole timeline of the All Star Wrestling, so I cannot express how fans, felt during that time that the promotion started. I was gonna invite Mel Vargas, but due to scheduling problems in my end, I wasn't able to do it. But what are your memories of All Star Wrestling? What you guys think of the promotion, and what you guys think led to the end of All Star Wrestling in Puerto Rico? But it was a very interesting time period of wrestling in Puerto Rico. Many of the stars that were in All Star Wrestling, with the exception, well, all the stars, I eventually went back to Capitol Sports Promotion. Even Hugo Sabinovich on TNT, Hercules Ayala, all of them basically at one moment or another had a run back in Capitol Sports Promotion during the 1990s. With this, we conclude this week's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and next we will be back talking about the golden years of wrestling in Puerto Rico. Into then, like the great Joaquin Padín Hijo used to say, sayonara, amigos.